You are a public officer. You are there in the trust, in trust of the people. So any decision that you make must be of the interest of the people, not as in terms of. But what we are witnessing definitely it's about people doing deals. Beside it, it's like we are sinking this country more and more in the essence of focusing not at the larger interest of our nation, but focusing on what am I going to be able to gain out of this deal.
Yeah, but Michelle, I guess the question is around Adani. Has the government actually awarded the airport deal to Adani? Or even what we are engaging right now is part of the conversation. My understanding, the Kenyan government has not signed a deal with Adani on JKI. It's still going through the entire process. So probably what we are doing here is part of the public participation. And I also think there's a match already in court.
Right, but the bigger question was this going to have come out if a whistleblower did not blow the story?
Yeah, and the company is going to talk about it, that this is something which is privately initiated. A gentleman doing his rounds around Nairobi sees a dilapidated facility, and he says, I've got capacity. He puts together a proposal, and it's going through the process. So probably there are 20 processes. And by the time it was on the second process, somebody with a whistle saw smoke somewhere and decided to blow the lead.
So where does transparency begin? Does it begin at the point where the signature is being put down, or from the negotiations themselves?
This is why the public participation is very critical in terms for us to be able to enhance and ensure that there is integrity, there is transparency and accountability in terms of matters, leadership, governance and development. Then we need to be able to, the first priority should be the public, embracing public participation and involving various stakeholders. Why is it that this thing was kept secretly, that only a few individuals within the government was aware of it?
But assuming that it's say,
and even after the uproar, we could be able to still see after the broad-based government coming together, Kenyans were actually against the deal, but the opposition were in support of it. So it's all about, let us come together. It is our time to eat. And as long as we agree on this particular issue, we don't care even Kenyans are against it. And that is what actually prompted Kenyans to come out of the street. So it means that we are not still learning from what actually happened. So it is like mutadu.
Yeah, but the thing is, and especially on the political front, and Hayamba, maybe this would be a good one for you. On the question of transparency and accountability, the broad-based government, according to President William Ruto, was meant to solve just that. We include what we would call the opposition in the government. We have the Treasury Cabinet Secretary being, quote unquote, someone from the opposition. And so the expectation was that, with this broad-based government, that we'll have a lot more whistleblowing, really, of what's happening behind the scenes, the backdoor deals. But we've not really seen that kind of accountability, really, from this broad-based government, have we, Haimba?
I think it boils down to the breed of politicians that we have in Parliament, so to speak, and outside Parliament. Because Mukua, I'll not ask you, Michelle, where you are in 2008.
Thank you, Haimba.
But we know that in 2008 is when we had the 10th Parliament under Speaker Marende, and that is when we had the National Accord, the coalition government. I don't know whether it was a coalition government or a coalition government.
Nusumkata administration.
That one. But we had the two sides closing ranks. That is ODM and PNU. If you want to add Na Kenya into that, which was basically under the PNU wing. So you look at the big coalitions, the big parties as being PNU and ODM. So we effectively lost opposition, the backbench. What did we have? We had the likes of Cyrus Jirongo, Mungatana, Martha Karua. By the time then she was in the executive, she resigned as a cabinet minister. She joined that team, but there was a very lethal team that they formed a caucus that they said they are the third force in Parliament, and that's why the 10th Parliament is praised in the manner in which they managed to hold the Grand Coalition government to account. So when fast forward the 11th Parliament comes in the issue of tyranny of numbers, or I don't know whether it's tyranny of numbers. Then we have the Jubilee Alliance then that has a super majority in Parliament. Then the 12th Parliament as well But now, again, when now we have the handshake and there's that, I don't know whether to call it full NASA or again a section of NASA teaming up with a section of Jubilee, because the Deputy President then, William Ruto, was out. But from 2018, we saw a totally different parliament, and people are trying to look at the 12th parliament and the 10th parliament, where we have both sides. What about, where is the autonomy of members in? Why you have to look at the politicians within parliament? Those are the people's representative, that their primary role is actually oversight, representation, and legislation. So you look at the 12th parliament and the 13th parliament of, I don't want to say a clique or a cabal, but a grouping that has remained so loyal to the party position vis-a-vis their own arm of government as the legislation, as the legislature, which they are supposed to provide oversight. So I don't know whether we'll have much in terms of pushing this, but if there will be people who will borrow from the 10th parliament, where the fact that you had ODM and PNU together does not mean that you close your eyes to what is happening, I really don't know. But we lost this in the 12th parliament. Let us look at the 12th parliament when we had the handshake, and then the 13th parliament where we have this broad-based, although cheeky people are calling it bread-based, but I don't know why why they have an issue with the bread anyway. But when you look at that, so I don't know whether the 13th parliament will try and think about it, but you also have to look at the leadership that we have in terms of the minority and the majority as well, because the idea of parliament standing its ground, majority you cannot fault them much, because basically you are as good as the leader of government business in the house. So you have to push the government agenda. But I think the duty is on the minority, but it should not be an assignment of the minority. Parliament as a whole, your work, you are an independent arm of government, just like the executive and the judiciary, and therefore you are supposed to play your role of oversight. So after elections, you're supposed to close eyes to the party largely and focus on parliament. And, that's where
and perhaps the conversation and concerns over state capture of parliament may just be a conversation on, national governance and national values. So we'll be coming back to that. But let's head over to Eldoret and listen in to what residents in Eldoret expect from President William Ruto's State of the Nation address. NTV's Masharia Mbugwa is live for us. Masharia, good morning. What do residents of Eldoret expect today?
Yes, indeed. Quite a good morning to you, Michelle, from this fifth city here, Eldoret town, also extensively the larger Uasin Gishu County. And just to bring to a glimpse, as the nation and residents of this great county are also expecting the State of the Nation address from President Ruto today in the joint parliamentary sitting. Well, indeed, this is an agricultural hub, and that would be the biggest question just to ask. Remember last year, as I'm talking to one of us here, last year the president posed that to meet the rising cost of living, definitely we had to invest on agriculture. I would wish you give us what is your name and what is the scorecard that you can give the president and his government so far on matters agriculture.
My name is Ken Tarus, a resident here in Uasin Gishu County, Eldoret. Owing to the government provided free fertilizer and encouraged farmers to increase on production. Now that the production went up and the rains were good, so we had bumper harvest. So which means to reduce the cost of living, the price of unga has gone down, but the prices of maize has also gone down. So in my deliberations, I was requesting the government, you could please sort out the issue of markets, so that when you do bumper harvest like we produce right now, we have somewhere we can sell our produce at a very good price. For example, if it comes to 4,000 per bag, then the farmer will be very comfortable, instead of having more supply, less demand, which affect the prices indeed.
Well, indeed, agriculture is not just about doing to do with maize farming. There's a whole question of diversification from the entire region. So do you think the government has done enough to invest on diversification, if not on other dairy farming, livestock keeping, and the rest?
The government has been in forefront encouraging the farmers to do diversification, like doing avocado farming. There is sorghum farming, which works with the EABL in Elgeyo Marakwet, which has done very well. There is also passion fruits. There is also horticulture, which is coming up. we still want more encouragement. There is coffee farming which is being done by Uasin Gishu governor. That's Chelilim. We're still encouraging our farmers to do diversification, not only to depend on maize, but also high value crops, which will indeed bring a lot of profits to our people. And that is the thing that will reduce now the cost of living. Yes.
So what is your last take? Should the government, what do you expect the president should say generally concerning the whole agricultural sector that is majorly for the farmers being a brain basket of the country?
I would like to laud them for the subsidized fertilizer. Please let it continue. Let nobody interfere. We don't want cases like having fake fertilizers like last year in some places, pockets of places in the country. But we want to encourage them. Please, let's maintain this. Let's keep production high. That is the only tool that will fight poverty and will reduce the cost of living among our people. Once food is there, everything will be okay. Everything will.
Asante sana. Bini, tukianza kuzungumza tu, je, matarajio yako leo rais akizungumza mbele ya bunge na seneti wakiwa kwa kikao kimoja, unatarajia azungumzia kuhusu maswala gani ambayo yanakumba hii nchi?
Mimi naona maswala ni mingi sana ambayo inawakera wananchi, na matarajio ni mengi kwa wananchi kutaka kupata ufafanuzi, kwa sababu kero lililotukabili saa hii ni mambo mawili. Ni mambo ambayo kwamba ya SHA ambayo ni matibabu na mambo ya elimu. Na tulipopigania uhuru tuliambiwa kwa kuwa walipigania wazee wetu, mababu yetu kuondosha mambo matatu: ujinga, maradhi na njaa. Na tunashukuru Mungu, mwenzangu amezungumza, njaa imeondoka, lakini kuna haya mambo mawili ambayo ni ya ugonjwa. Wakenya kila tunapokuwa katika media, tunapoangalia katika vyombo vya habari, tunaona ni kilio na machozi ya damu ya kwa kuwa watu wanaenda kutibiwa na hawatibiwi kwa sababu SHA haifanyi vizuri. Na tungelimuomba Mheshimiwa Rais hili alitolee mwongozo, kwa sababu ni karibu miezi mitatu, sijui miezi mitano imepita. Huwezi kusema kwa system mpaka leo haijafanya. Na kama system haifanyi, kwa nini uondoshe NHF? Si ungelingojea kwanza hii iingiane kisawasawa ndio uondoshe ile, ili Wakenya wasiteseke. Sasa kwa sababu ya hilo, ningelikuwa Mheshimiwa Rais alitolee ufafanuzi, kwa sababu hili ndilo kero kubwa ambalo liko sahihi. La pili ni hii mambo ya elimu. Tumeona university zingine zinataka kufungwa kwa sababu hazina fedha, malekchara wamegoma, watoto wetu wako katika hostel, hawana masomo. Semester hii karibu inaisha, imebaki wiki 3, kwa sababu ikiingia Disemba itakuwa ni kama wiki 3 hivi. Kisha Mheshimiwa Waziri anajitokeza kusema mitihani itafanywa mitihani gani ambayo elimu wanafunzi hawajasomeshwa? Na hii sio ya university tu, paka CBC hii ya wanafunzi. Shule nyingi za serikali za primary tunaita ya kwa kuwa ni junior second, hakuna madarasa, hakuna malabu. Watoto wanatoka shule za serikali wanakuja private kuja kufanya lab. Hii ni aibu aina gani? Kwa hivyo ningetaka Mheshimiwa Rais tusikuwe tunakuwa tunasoma kumbe ujinga uko pale pale, kwa sababu hatujajitayarisha. Kwa hivyo na hili ningelimuomba Mheshimiwa Rais alitolee ufafanuzi, atafanya vipi mpaka tupate elimu bora, sio bora elimu. Ya mwisho ni kuzungumzia uchumi. Mheshimiwa Rais juzi amekiri mwenyewe alipokuwa anawasainisha contract wale mawaziri kuwajibika katika kazi, akasema ni ukweli uchumi ni mbaya. Sasa kama uchumi ni mbaya, si lazima leo atueleze ataufufua vipi, na aweke mikakati na ifanye kazi kesho. Sio kusema tutapanga tunafanya, akimaliza kuzungumza saa hii basi kesho kuonekane kazi inaendelea. Na hilo mawaziri kusainishwa imekuwa ni kama dasturi tu, lakini ukweli wa mambo ni kusainishwa na kufuatilia, asiyefanya afutwe kikweli.
Asante sana Bini. Labda tu wa mwisho niweza kuzungumza na leo rais anaenda kuzungumza mbele ya bunge kutoa ripoti ya kazi ambayo serikali yake imeweza kuifanya kwa muda sasa. Je, matarajio yako ni gani? Ni lipi ambalo unatarajia atazungumzia?
Mimi matarajio yangu ya kwanza,
kwa majina tafadhali.
Kwa majina naitwa Isaac, na matarajio yangu ya kwanza ningeomba Mheshimiwa Rais aongelee mambo ya security. Security ya nchi tunahofia kama Wakenya. Ni kama usalama wetu hatuko sure. Hiyo kwanza, hiyo changamoto ya usalama kama Wakenya, Rais ninamuomba angalie mambo ya security ya nchi as a whole. Jambo la pili, chakula ama yale vitu yenye tunapanda Kenya, mambo ya agriculture. Upande wa mahindi serikali imefanya vizuri. Njaa amefanya. Hiyo nampatia tiki. Lakini mambo ya kahawa, mambo ya sunflower ianze kurudishwa. Mambo ya cotton, waanze kuelimisha wakulima, tuanze kuwa nchi yenye na produce. Tusitegemee tu kitu moja kwa cash crop. Tuanze kujitegemea kwa vitu zetu. Jambo la tatu, economy. Economy inatupeleka mbaya. Maisha inapeleka Wakenya mbaya. Ninaomba sana serikali, Mheshimiwa Rais, mambo ya economy aangalie, aongelee hiyo kitu. Jambo la 4, county governments iko na perform poorly kwa sababu national government wanasema pesa wamesha release, na county government wanasema hakuna pesa. Sasa hata tumeshindwa kama wananchi, hatupati hizo services za county government. Hatujui pesa zimekwama wapi. Hatujui ni nani anasema ukweli, ni nani anasema ukweli, anasema uongo. Tunataka hiyo mambo ya county government, Mheshimiwa Rais na waziri wa fedha Mbadi, tunataka waambie Wakenya pesa zimekwama wapi. County government zinasafa. Hakuna services, hakuna madawa hospitali. Mambo ya education imekwama. Imewekwa ni kama iko kwa mawe sasa. Hata mimi mtoto wangu jana ni university student Jaramogi, amerudi. Hakuna kitu anafanya shule. Wakati mimi nangangana na boda nisomeshe mtoto wangu sasa amerudi. Government na lecturers wanataka tu only 4 billion. Kwa nini serikali zilipe walimu? Na tukienda hivyo tutaua mambo ya education, na hiyo ni future ya nchi. Tusiposoma hiyo tunapoteza future generation.
Asante sana. Well, indeed, Michelle, you've heard it from the residents of Uasin Gishu, key of them all being the grain basket of the country, while they have spoken of agriculture, not just maize farming, but giving the government a score for what they have done so far in terms of agriculture, investing on a free fertilizer program, investing with trying to work with the farmers' calendar, and also now they're just requesting for the government to give out a clear view in terms of the market price and the market-ready market for their products. Extensively, they have spoken of the entire issue in the country to do with health, and finally they have mentioned of the education, which is majorly affecting most of them in terms of higher education. We will be pitching camp here in Eldoret City, and we will just be giving our views as we follow up the president as he gives the State of the Nation address. But for now, back to you in studio.
Masharia Mbogwa live for us from Eldoret as we continue to take the pulse and feel the pulse of the nation. What Kenyans feel and expect ahead of President William Ruto's second State of the Nation address. The address will be taking place at 3 p.m. this afternoon at Parliament buildings.